Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. 11th straight day of gains for the US markets. No such luck for our markets. And Fed meet, FNO expiry, lots of results. Expect some consolidation. The US markets first, and what they did overnight in trade will come up on your screen first. And they eked out small gains. The Nasdaq in particular small. The Dow and the S&P relatively higher, about 0.5%. So not bad going there. No big changes in the other cues, and don't expect too much ahead of the Fed meet any which ways. So we'll probably see a hike, but the commentary more important there, and therefore the Fed meet and the dollar index or the yields, etc. I doubt really will change dramatically, if you will. The gift nifty should be getting a flattish start, maybe a marginal bias of consolidation is what one can anticipate in such a scenario as well. Now, in light of all of this, right, what is the global news flow first? The US business activity growth slowed while demand outlook dimmed. Uh, Maybe this helps the sentiment around the Fed movement. Oil held near 3 month highs as China moves to bolster growth, and Bitcoin fell sharply ahead of the Fed meeting and as investors weigh Binance concerns as well. By the way, just a small word on China, because what China does is so important to what could happen to flows as well. So China actually held off a major stimulus, but it signaled property easing. They signaled trouble for the support for the troubled real estate sector, alongside pledges to boost consumption and resolve local government debt, but fell short of announcing a large-scale stimulus to support the slowing economic recovery. The ruling Communist Party 24-hour member Politburo, which is the decision-making body, right, led by Xi Jinping, promised counter-cyclical policy according to a readout published Monday by the Xinhua news agency. But no big stimulus has been promised. Keep that in mind. So therefore, what's the trade setup in such a scenario is important. Well, we just look ahead of the policy ahead of the expiry. The highest call OI is at 19,800 strike, 255,000 contracts, and the Nifty PCR stands at about 0.82. So we kind of around those levels. More importantly, the PCR is not egregious, which doesn't point to a very massive possibility of a correction. If anything, could be shallow. Quant indicators too, not really pointing towards a very massively overleveraged, greed-fueled market. So corrective moves, consolidation likely, big bang correction, I can't quite see that. PSU banks are seeing some buying interest even post results. We've seen that in trade yesterday as well with select names. And today, Asian Paints, Apollo Pipes, this week Supreme Industries, the building material space or the real estate ancillary space, whatever you call it, gets into action. Now, Asian Paints is expected to deliver strong growth, and that may set the trend for paint sector. And if we see Asian Paints, Apollo Pipes, it's a small player Apollo by the way, but Supreme come out with good numbers, it just kind of sets the stage for the commentary around some of the others too. So that is something that people will be keenly watching out for. Like I said, it's a busy day for results. So there is Asian Paints, Bajaj Auto, Larsen and Toubro, and Tata Motors from amongst the nifty names. And then look at the clutch of non-nifty names as well. Amber, very important. I spoke about Apollo Pipes, but see it extremely important after what they did in the corresponding quarter last year. Delta Corp is important as well, so do watch out for that too. There is Dixon Tech, Jubilant Foodworks, and what Jubilant does on the same store sales growth could be very crucial as well. So that is to be keenly watched out for. KPIT Tech, we spoke to JP Morgan's and Rudra yesterday, who said that this is the only one which will deliver numbers, but the valuations are slightly out of whack. And after what power stocks have done yesterday, Suzlon would be in focus. By the way, speaking of power stocks, what a powerful move yesterday it was in some of these, right? So Inox Wind was up 11.84%, SJVN 14%, NHPC 6%, REC 6%, Power Finance Corporation 5%. These stocks had a very strong buying fueled rally in trade. I mean, most of these are actually cash market stocks any which way. So good show, strong move there. Question is, can it last? Well, let's wait and watch. Speaking of SJVN, by the way, it moved about 16, 17, 18% yesterday. right? On an order win which was not even as large as this one. So yesterday it won two separate orders, right? Some 1800 megawatt and 500 megawatt, if I'm not wrong, or 1200 megawatt and 500 megawatt. Now Arunachal Pradesh has given it five hydro projects of 5097 megawatts. Total investment to be about 50,000 crores. This is seriously large uh, hydropower projects getting commissioned. And there's something happening in the power space, which is quite amazing and scintillating and worth watching for. The kind of investments that are happening in hydro as well as wind power is quite stunning, really. And therefore, for that whole ancillary system as well, I think this becomes very important. How much of this gets executed in a time bound fashion is of critical importance, but you can clearly see the bent of the government in power, railways, and defense. The order win and infrastructure, of course, the order wins are just right up there. Some results: Tata Steel. I thought the numbers, I mean, yes, the numbers were weak, but much like I think JSW as well, slightly better than what was estimated. Revenue 59489, 56337 was the estimate, Bloomberg estimate, so better than estimates for sure. Net profit down 91%, got clobbered in the quarter, but better than the estimate of a net loss. EBITDA margins maybe 30 basis points lower than estimated, but by and large, and it was okay. Really can't complain too much about these numbers because it was all anticipated. DCM Sriram though, weak numbers, no revenue estimates, but just the numbers seem wobble as there as well. So Tata Steel was weak, better than estimated. Here no estimates, but the numbers seem weak. Net profit down 78%, EBITDA margin 5.7 versus 14.7. Not a great quarter. Chennai Petro, excuse me, again, not a great quarter. Revenues down 34%, EBITDA margin at 5.3 versus 12.4, net profit down 76%, debt up by 1,700 crores quarter on quarter. Clearly, some issues there, and the stock could react. So do watch out for that as well. Vedanta, is caught in the eye of a storm. Now they are coming out with these things. I mean, look at the wordings, right? The Vedanta's application under government's modified scheme for fab manufacturing under consideration for approval. Will they get the approval? They've been talking they're singing the same song for the mega factory as well. Anil Agarwal said that, there's no reason why they will not get the approval. They didn't get the approval. This is just under consideration for approval. These are statements. Does this really mean that they've gotten something? No. And frankly, the Kotak note yesterday was pretty damning on Vedanta. So be mindful of having some large leverage longs here. Just the fact that they've rolled over at an interest which is substantially higher is a bit of a problem for Vedanta. So please be careful if you're trading this one in the session today. Uh, on the long side, that is, or on the short side. It's a very difficult stock to trade per se. Then Jeffries has a note on Bharti Airtel. They say it's a buy with a target price raised to 900 from 900 to 1020. Say Jio's 4G feature phone Jio Bharat is likely to drive market share loss amongst feature phone users. Uh, Jio Bharat likely to delay tariff hikes. For the sector and drive market share consolidation further. They say that they cut their India revenue EBITDA estimates by 2 to 5% and raised the India target EV EBITDA multiple to 10x from 9x to factor this, as a result of which I believe the target price moves up. But over FY23 to 26, EBITDA is still well positioned to deliver 15 to 16% CAGR in the India revenue EBITDA business. So let's get out of this plate now. But the point, viewers, is that if indeed Jio Bharat delays the tariff hikes, then it's a negative for Vodafone or V, maybe a net positive for Jio, and a slight positive for Airtel as well in terms of customer acquisition. So be mindful of that. Maybe that is the other reason. But interesting note there on Airtel. Watch out for that one. And watch out for ITC, Nomura. I mean, many brokerages have written. I've chosen Nomura, but I thought one of their comments was interesting. So they say they were buy with a target price of 485 post the demerger. They say value unlocking with creation of pure play hotels entity. will improve the balance sheet, capital allocation, and ROC profile. On ROC, they say this very interesting piece. They say that the total segment ROC for ITC is at 34.5. If we exclude the hotel business, then the total segment ROC actually improves to 37%. So it's ROC accretive, this whole move. But there are concerns, and one of the concerns is not a clean or a mirror demerger, which restricts the value unlocking, because that is what ITC may do with some of the others as well. Now, amongst various things written on social media, I thought what was interesting was that they might have done this because they don't want uh, this one, the hotel business, to be at the mercy of some hostile takeover, and therefore uh, the point around why they've kept the 40% shareholding. So keep in keep in mind, that's the interesting piece. What else have I missed out on? Something I'm sure I have. So I'm just trying to get what results have I missed out on. Oh yeah, Spandana Spooty had a very interesting set of numbers. Gross NPAs came off. The NI was strong, 273 crores. Even quarter on quarter was this 250 crores. So that was good. PAT at 111 crores. QOQ was down, but YY there was a loss. AUM numbers looked okay. So, Spandana Spooty was a good set of numbers. After Sesha Sai Paper's weakness, JK Paper was a flattish to a decent set of numbers, so that's not bad. Gravita was weak, miss on lower revenues in an all recycling segment, so that's to be kept in mind that Gravita India had a week. I've already spoke about DCM Sriram, and Sharda Cropchem had a weak quarter too. Agrochemical space is getting hit in a big way. We spoke about Chennai Petro as well, so that is not that great. Um, Yeah, I think that's the long and short of it. But he's spoken about brokerage calls on most things. On PSU banks, like I said, people are buying it. So Spark Capital is a call on Canara Bank, buy with the target price of 434. So that's interesting. Everybody's up their targets on Ashok Leyland. So that is to be kept in mind as well. Uh, yeah, Goldman Sachs has upgraded Ashok Leyland to a buy with a target price of 230 as well. So that's the other interesting piece. Nevertheless, that's the long and short of the trade setup today. Clutch of interesting conversations. Of course, Mihir Vora of Max Life, Johnson at 10 a.m. on Talking Point. So tune in for that. It's a great handle on macro and micro. So that's to be watched out for. Some result conversations as well during the day and during the week as well. A touch of result conversations. You'll hear Asian Paints. You'll hear KPIT. Uh, all of these which come out with numbers. So throughout this week now, clutch of very important conversations. You might want to tune in for some of those. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup today.